It's Friday night, and it's a Skeptical Help Bar. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, it's been a long week. Got lots going on, and I am excited to see everyone here tonight, especially because we got a guest, new person on the show too. And I'm excited because we get to talk to somebody new. That's awesome. All right, so before we get started, before we get into our guest, we got to go over the rules, because if you don't have rules, it's just shit everywhere. It's total chaos. Like, we don't know what's going on. It's like Mad Max in a Thunderdome. Ugh. All right, rule number 1. You are allowed to ask questions. That's what this show is about. You can ask questions, and we'll answer them. We'll try to. The guest will try to answer the questions. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Number 2 is that I don't know everything. Neither does the guest. That's just nature of the beast. We don't know everything, and it's okay to say I don't know. But we do have Google. We have Google all over the place, and we can look it up and maybe spend a couple minutes on it if we have time. Rule number 3 is that we follow the Patrick Swayze rule here, and that means be nice. I encourage you to be in the chat room and discuss the topics that we're talking about. Ask your questions and debate, or you can disagree or agree to disagree if that's your thing. But just don't devolve into name calling. That's all I ask. Because if you do, even though Donna's not here tonight, she's not here. She's really not here. Tim Vickers, Mr. Vickers himself, is in the background, and he's watching, and he will boot your ass. So be nice. Rule number 4 is that if you do have a question, please put a Q in front of it. That way, Tim, who is in the background watching everything, he's the eye in the sky, he can save it for later. And then rule number 5 is my favorite one. That's drink up. See my skull mug? So we do have a guest tonight. I'm going to bring him on in a second. Ooh, I was naked there for a second. Let's see who's in here. We got Jade Kittens here. We got Robert, Jim. Hey, Dr. Jim, Diane, Tiffany, John. What's up, John Kennedy? How you doing? What else? Daniel Reed's here. We got a bunch of people. Jay, Tim Vickers is in the house twice. Oh my God, we got a whole bunch of people that haven't commented yet, which is cool. Just hang out. All right. So with that, I think we can just bring on our guest, because I ran out of things to say. I mean, I never run out of things to say. I can talk for hours. Just ask my wife. Anyway, so I'm going to bring our guest on, and we're going to talk to him. We're going to get to know him. We're going to ask him questions. I'm excited about this. Here we go. What? There we go. Hey, Aten. What's up? Did I get it right? Aten.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I told you, I'm going to practice that all night. So, Aten, I met you. We met, oh my gosh, what is it, like 1 or 2 years? We've been back and forth talking online. We've never actually met in person. Not yet, at least. Yeah. But I know you from your videos on YouTube. You have a nice channel. I enjoy your videos. I think you are the most dashingly dressed host of YouTube channel ever that I've seen. I mean, I absolutely love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I've enjoyed your videos. They cover all kinds of paranormal topics, and I don't want to get into it yet. Let's find out who you are. Let's find out your origin story. Who are you?
Oh man, I'm just an idiot, really.
No, you're not, dude.
Well,
I've seen your videos. You're not an idiot.
Trying to be a little less of an idiot every day, you know.
Well, that's something we all try to do, but.
Well, do we all?
Well, all right. So I stand corrected. Some of us try not to be an idiot every day.
Yeah.
So what do you do? How'd you get there?
Sure.
Why did we interact?
People always ask me how did I get into paranormal investigation, right? And I tell them I didn't pick it; it picked me, right? So when I was 5 years old, close to 6, I spent the night at my grandparents' house, and I still really vividly remember, or at least I think I vividly remember, right? I was sleeping on the couch, and it was thunder and lightning, and I woke up, and I was pinned to the sofa where I was sleeping by a severed hand that was crawling up my chest. and I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. It was pressing down on my chest. And then I finally was able to break free and then run to bed with my grandparents. And my grandparents were like, "Oh, you were having a bad dream." And I was just sure I wasn't having a bad dream. It seemed so real, you know? And then I found out from my father that when they had done some work on the house, that a worker there had lost his hand, you know? The problem is that my biological father was full of shit. So,
Okay.
So a 5-year-old doesn't know what sleep paralysis is, you know?
Okay.
And so a 9-year-old doesn't know, a 10-year-old does. So I would have these events, you know? And we have an entire mythology throughout the entire planet where sleep paralysis has spawned all kinds of legends. Succubus, night hags. I mean, around the globe, every culture has this same thing, but it's just sleep paralysis, you know. Okay. But this is what got me into it, because then as a teenager, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons in the height of the satanic panic. Okay, and so I didn't know that these demons and devils were real. I knew that trolls weren't real, and I knew that dwarves weren't real, but there was a whole lot of people telling me that these demons and devils were real, and that I needed to not be playing this game because I was going to summon them, right? Okay. How I never would have thought these things were real if it hadn't been for all these people telling me they were real, right?
Okay.
Think of the irony of this. They're saying the satanic panic was about fear of us playing the game because we were going to summon these entities, right? But in hindsight, looking at it, I think those are the people who really actually needed the medical attention, you know.
they needed some therapy.
Yeah, ones that actually, because we never, like, we're just playing a game, you know. It's not. So then when I was about 20 years old, we were going to band practice. My friend Dennis was driving. Well, and I told him about something that had happened to me the night before. I had woke up in my bed, and there was a succubus. There was a woman, a naked woman, crawling up in my bed, holding me down. And I remember pushing against her, and finally, you know, I could literally hear the audible thump she made when she hit the floor. And on the way to band practice, I told Dennis, and I was telling Dennis about this, and Dennis literally pulled the car over to the middle divider thing in the freeway, and he was like ghost white, and he just said she visited me the previous night. And so here we are, you know, we're 19, 20 years old. We both really thought maybe a friend of ours had died or something. We didn't make the connection. We didn't know. But again, we just happened to have sleep paralysis episodes, you know?
Okay.
So just a moment of this is that I don't know if you're aware of this. In the early 80s, a bunch of, I don't want to mispronounce the word, the Hmong people from Southeast Asia were fleeing a genocide, and they came to the United States, and there were, I think, like 20, the numbers might be off, but I think it was like, because some people have cited higher numbers, but I think the accurate number is something like 22 or 23. When they came to the United States, they were obviously given health screenings, right, to make sure they were healthy, and they were. They're fine, right? But like 22 or 23 of them died in their sleep. Now, that event is what spawned the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, right? The idea that something could kill you in your sleep, right? Okay, so what actually happened is you have these people that came to the United States under the worst circumstances imaginable, right? They can't speak the language. They have no money. All their friends are being murdered. So you can imagine the amount of stress they're under, right? And very religious people, very spiritual people, and they actually literally died from their hearts stopping from the fear of these sleep paralysis hallucinations. And so I think that's part of why I push back against the bullshit, you know,
The bullshit.
the bullshit. Yeah. I want that word to catch on, because I think it encapsulates what we're talking about. You know, it just makes it very easy for people. It's bullshit. Because if you believe the bullshit, it can harm you. You know, as these young men in their 20s, perfectly healthy, all died from it. You know. So anyway, so that's really in a nutshell. There's a whole lot more, but that's the basic.
That's how you got into like the paranormal and
yeah, because people were telling me that these demons were real, and so I wanted to find out, you know, and so and then, you know, to eventually learn about sleep paralysis and learn that it's caused by stress. So sleep paralysis is an evolutionary holdover from when our distant ancestors used to sleep in trees. Okay, the reason we used to sleep in trees is because of the predators on the savannah floor, right? You had Harvey Weinstein walking around down there. You don't want to fall out of a tree and end up with him, right?
Wow.
So sleep paralysis prevented you from sleepwalking, and if you felt, because if you know, right? So it's more prevalent in children now. We don't need it anymore. It's more prevalent in children. It should stop after puberty. If you still have these episodes after puberty, it's a warning sign that your body's under too much stress. So simply reducing the stress in your life will stop the sleep paralysis episodes.
That's interesting. I'm fascinated, because you are part of a ghost hunting team, right? Or a group, or at least okay. And you host or run. Do you own the ghost tour?
Yeah.
Okay, so you own a ghost tour in Seattle, Washington,
right?
And with that, like the stereotypical view, if I was talking to somebody that said, "Oh, I'm a ghost hunter. I have a team. I do ghost tours," I would not expect them to have the attitude that you have, or the information that you have. Like, we're talking about sleep paralysis, which is something that, like, honestly, I'm the one that usually brings that up, like in conversation. I'm not used to somebody else that is not like referred to as a skeptic, or refers to themselves as a skeptic, bringing that kind of term up. So it's actually refreshing to hear it. I mean, it's still a shitty thing that happens to people.
Yeah, but it's frightening. It's frightening, and also, you know, different people experience it differently, right?
Right.
But I, on my own, had found a remedy, and I mean, aside from the reducing stress, right? But I found on my own, and then when I researched it, I discovered that in the Far East, it's actually a method that is being taught. So you can't do large body movements, but you can take your you can take your pinky nail and you can poke it into the back of your thumb, right? And see that little pinch that you get right there?
Okay.
That little pinch, that will wake you up. And so if you're having these episodes, you need to reduce your stress. But if it's like chronic and you keep having it, you can wake yourself up. Just that one simple movement, right?
Do you think that's something that's more of a conditioned response?
I had to learn it. Because you're not going to think of it while it's happening. Several times, maybe I advise people to maybe write a note to themselves next to the bed. You got to, but first of all, you shouldn't be having it like that. If it's chronic like that, then you really, really need to work on what's causing you the stress, and don't focus on the big thing, because people will do that. You're not going to take care of that. Find the little things, get those little things taken care of, reduce that, and don't replace it with more things that cause you stress. And usually it should go down,
Interesting.
So do you know about that lady in, we're going to get ourselves in trouble here.
Yeah.
do you know about that lady in Hollywood, California, who calls herself the ghost demon sex expert?
So the only reason I know about it is from your videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you mentioned it in the video about ghost sex.
So look, there is a grown woman, probably able to vote, probably with a driver's license, operating heavy machinery on our freeways, who her job title is demon ghost sex expert. So
there's got to be one, right?
she either, and she's on all these ghost shows, right? She either doesn't know what sleep paralysis is, in which case why is she on TV, or she does know, and she's just so here's the thing. All right, if someone is having sleep paralysis episodes, right?
Yeah.
If you or I were to talk to them, we could tell them what's happening and we could work with them to help them reduce the stress, right? She, on the other hand, will tell them, I hope it's okay to say this, she will tell them that a demon wants their vagina. So just which one of those two things, us telling them that they need to reduce their stress, or her telling them that a demon wants their vagina, which one of those things do you think would cause you more stress?
Yeah, I think option number 2 would be my guess.
And so that's what's so, does she not know? You know what I mean? Like, so that's anyway.
So does this person have any other credentials? Any other?
She's on the Ghost Hunt shows. You can look her up. She's got like a website. She counts, like, people take her seriously. Like, I'm really, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's
sex expert.
Look up in Hollywood, California, the demon ghost sex expert.
An expert explains spectrophilia. What is ghost sex? Oh, wow. British woman? Is she British?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if there were more. Honestly,
I'm sure. I mean, I've heard like the woman that married the ghost pirate.
Oh,
kind of thing.
Yeah, and the chandelier, and the one that married the chandelier. And I mean, that's listen, no judgment, right? I mean, honestly, no judgment.
There's all kinds of judgment coming from me.
But listen, they can be whoever they want. You know, it doesn't, as long as they're not hurting themselves and they're not hurting someone else. You know.
Yeah,
I would prefer they got therapy, but
yeah, I mean, I agree as long as they're not hurting other people. But I mean, a chandelier. I mean,
Kenny, if I could fall in love with and marry a chandelier, that would make my life so much easier. It really would. You know?
Oh my God. I mean, all right. So I like how you explained that you were playing D&D, because I grew up same way. I played D&D a lot, and I was raised Catholic, so I was quite surprised that I was allowed to, especially with some of the artwork on the covers of the book, of books. But I never had a problem with it, and I remember other people, not my family, but other people outside, telling me I was doing the devil's work and that I'm really going to summon demons, because I don't realize that that's what this game is doing. It's just tricking me into doing this. And I always thought it was just nonsense. It was just a game to me. And
listen, the irony that they're the ones who needed the attention. They're the ones that were in trouble, and yet the ones playing it were the ones that got all the negative press. Right. I still don't understand how that works. You know?
Yeah, I don't. Well, maybe because they were the ones that were the loudest. You know, and when you try to get space for like a newspaper or a news headline or something, you want drama. And I think that's the way it was. These people were the loudest. They caused the most trouble. They were in your face. And it was like, all right, well, let's just listen to you, because they're going to create drama for us. All we have to do is record it, you know, and put it on TV.
I was talking to you earlier about Stephen Kaplan.
Yes.
He said nobody wants to hear about an unhaunted house.
That's true. You know, like a regular house is kind of boring if there's no ghosts or demons or stuff running around. But you bring up the idea of a haunted house, everyone wants to hear, like, what kind of story? What do you got? So, all right. So go ahead.
I still find it amazing. I really love the work that you did debunking like Ghost Boy and the I love the work that you do. Like you recreate those events and you show. And what gets me is when I talk to people and they're curious. People honestly want to know, was the Amityville horror faked? It's weird that you have to prove to people that Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the burden of proof that's reversed. So
Yeah,
you don't have to prove that a place is haunted to the general public. You just have to prove that it's not haunted. Once it's out there. So I get it. I absolutely get it.
I listen. I don't know if anyone knows this. I used to work for a so-called paranormal investigator in Seattle, and then when I saw how fraudulent, well, anyway, you don't want to hear that drama, but
I do, but we don't have to.
That's what started. That's why we started our own business. So,
okay.
When I told him, I said, our job as paranormal investigators is not to prove that something that this is a ghost. Our job is to disprove it. We're looking for the scientific explanation of the evidence we're looking at. We're trying to debunk it. Because if Julie is being haunted and she genuinely believes that she is being, I'm just making a name, right? And she genuinely believes she's being haunted, no judgment. I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she, I want to help her. So she calls Zach Baggins and she calls you and I. Okay. She calls you and I, right? Okay.
Okay.
So in scenario one, Zach Baggins drives up in his Lamborghini, bless his little heart, and he goes in and he freaks out over the dust on a cabinet, and now she has demons. All right. But then she dies a week later of carbon monoxide poisoning. Right.
Yes.
But if you or I go to her house, we respect what's happening to her. We want, because on the long list of things that possibly could be, if you're having a haunting, on the long list of things that possibly could be, Kenny, where's ghost on that list?
Way down.
Yeah, if it's on there at all, right? It's like there's nothing below it.
No, you have the last thing on that list is I don't know.
Yeah, so, right.
Yeah, you're right. Like ghost isn't on there because
what I say is that once we've gone through all of those things, we can't even begin to imagine that it might be something supernatural until we've gone through the whole list, right? But the thing is you're going to find something else before you get to the bottom of the list. And I don't want to find something else. I want to find, I'm like, oh wow, that's, I want to have those, right? But you're going to find it. And so what someone like Zach Baggins does is that he capitalizes on ignorance of that situation, and that can cost lives because someone's brain tumor might not be found, or someone's mental illness sometimes comes out later in life, or the carbon monoxide poisoning, which is causing her. Yes. There's all these things that could possibly happen. So.
And I mean, carbon monoxide poisoning is a real issue. It's something that I've looked into. I know a couple weeks back we had Carrie from Ono, Ross, and Carrie on. Really good podcast, and Carrie had a incident like that's one of her early things where she was in a place and there was a leak and she was hearing things and seeing things and really freaking out until it was discovered this was the cause. And she was told, like, if you were in here like another day or two, you would not have woken up, So yeah, I get what you're saying. And when people experience things and they're not sure what's going on, stop calling celebrities. Stop calling ghost hunters that just want to show that ghosts exist. Call somebody that is based in science, and they're going to come out and listen to you, listen to what you're saying, listen to the symptoms that you have, listen to the things that you've witnessed, and then discuss it with you and try to figure out a cause.
I don't know if you have the same problem, but I get kicked out of like paranormal social media groups so fast. I mean, it happens all the time. I've lost count of the number of groups I've been kicked out of, because
I agree. I mean, I do the same thing because I see it come across my feed and somebody says something or gives advice. And it's just, I mean, sometimes if it's a picture and like there's hundreds of comments saying, oh, it's probably a spirit or it's an angel or this and that. You know what? That's really not hurting anyone. And I'm not going to get into that. But if I see somebody say, like, oh, you need to do this ritual or you need to do something that's going to cost a lot of money or is potentially dangerous, then it's like, I got to speak up. I can't help it. I got to speak up. And then usually it's like delete or block You know, you find it, you write something, a long comment up. It's a lot of information, really good information, and then an hour later, you've realized that it's been deleted and you've been blocked.
Kenny, here's a good example. I was on my way to work one night, and I had all my Victorian clothes on, the big cravat and the top hat, and it was all. And honestly, I'd be dressed that way now, but it's just too hot. I was on the bus and I was going downtown, and a lady sitting across from me saw how I was dressed, and so she started talking to me. She wanted to know why I was dressed that way, and then I told her, you know, what I do and stuff, and she very enthusiastically told me that she had captured a picture of an angel on her cell phone, and she wanted to show it to me. So she took her cell phone out, and her face lit up. She was very happy, and she showed me the picture of the angel. Right. Okay. So, in her reality, it was an angel. Okay.
Okay.
In my reality, it was a reflection off of her television. Okay. But I don't, what I generally tell people is, hey, I'm looking at a picture on a cell phone. If anyone looks at a picture of a cell phone and tells you it's a ghost, they're just making stuff up. Because even if it was a ghost, you wouldn't be able to tell from a cell phone picture. Right. Right. But through the communication with her, you know what I found out? She had stage 4 cancer. So here's the thing. If that's an angel for her, that's an angel for her. I'm not gonna argue that. That's right. That is her reality, and good for her. You know, if that's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to pick your battles. You know, know when to gracefully walk away. And I feel the same way. If it's because there's been many situations where people have come up to me and had like either a stack of photographs that they wanted to show me, or pictures on their phone or whatnot. And the story that comes along with it is, if it's something like, you know, I just lost my husband, here's an image, you know, it's a bright light. I think it's my husband saying hi. My first question is usually like, does this, you know, bring you comfort? Are you okay with this? And if they say, yeah, like, do you really want to ask someone like me what it is? And if they hesitate, it's like, maybe you already know, maybe we shouldn't have this conversation. You know, like, let's just part ways as friends and let it be. I don't mind doing that, like you said, because it's there's no reason to. You know, like, she gets a little bit of comfort.
We would be, if we broke that for someone, we would be just as bad as the people that we despise who are taking advantage of that. You know, it's a different spectrum of it, but we'd be just as bad. We hurt, and I'm not into that.
Right. Yeah. And there's really no reason. I mean, if they push, you know, if they really want to know an answer, then of course I'm going to do it. But I'm going to give them the chance. You know, let's not pursue this. You know,
Kenny, have you ever got this? I get this. Someone will get really angry at me and be like, "How can you call yourself a paranormal investigator if you don't believe in ghosts?" And
all the time.
I'm not saying I don't believe in ghosts. I'm saying that I'm going to look through the evidence. I'm going to try to find out, you know, if there's another solution for it. Because again, like we said earlier, the long list of things, right?
Right.
No, and they want to just, my opinion, it feels like it's a ghost. Therefore, and if it's, you know, see, and you get in this loop with people, and I don't want to break their.
I get into it. I get that question a lot because I am literally a professional skeptic. That's what I do for a living. And I get the question all the time, like, if you don't believe, why do you even bother? What's the point? What are you in this for? I'm in it to find it, you know, because I don't believe in ghosts or spirits or demons or angels. I don't have that belief, but I'm open to it. If there's good evidence for it, I'm open to it.
So I got to ask you this.
Sure.
Okay. So, I believe in demons, but wait,
there's more.
demons of the mind. Those are the only demons that are real.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So those demons are real. It's the only thing you need to worry about is the demons that you invent in your head, the ones that you you know, when you said that, you were talking about some other manifestation that exists without, right? Like that's, yeah, that's BS, right? But people can create these, you know, this negativity that can really harm them, but it's not some separate thing, right?
Yeah, it's your inner demons, you know, the
Right.
quote
That's all.
unquote inner demons.
So those, right?
Yeah.
And another thing too is that ghosts. Like, I'm not saying I don't believe in ghosts. I think that if we get through that list and we get to the we don't know part, if we get to that list, right, and we really don't know, then maybe it's the word ghost that's toxic. Okay, so first of all, everyone should understand there's no such thing as supernatural. There's no such thing, absolutely no such thing, and that's because as soon as we figure out what it is, it's natural, right? So I don't know. Did I get this? Hold on. Tell me if I got this from you. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's one of my favorite quotes. Tell me if I got this.
I did it. I totally did it.
Right.
That was me.
It's if you hear hooves galloping on the horizon, is it more likely to be a horse or a unicorn?
Oh, that wasn't me. I can't take credit for that. But that's good. That's good though.
And that's what everyone should ask themselves. Right. It'd be awesome if it was unicorns. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. But it's probably not.
Right. Right. I hear you.
So what if we get to the I don't know? Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, time is not necessarily linear. We are told, right? It's only a perception of it. Maybe there's multiple dimensions. Maybe there's alternate reality. So maybe in some string theory, something that I don't understand. So maybe somewhere in that mix, there is something that we are calling ghosts, right? That's after we get through all of the debunking stuff, right? So if you get to the bottom of the list. So I'm open to that. There's a physicist out of Cambridge University. His name is Brian Josephson. Are you familiar with him? His name? So his name is Brian Josephson. He teaches at Cambridge University. I feel like it's okay. He's not a crackpot, you know, and he believes in the paranormal, and some of the stuff that he says about it, it's hurt his career, obviously, right? But he said that a lot of scientists who come out against ghosts, one is because it's a career killer, right? If you're a scientist and you say you believe in ghosts, you're done. And two, he said that a lot of the debunking, a lot of the feelings about ghosts are not done with a scientific method. It's done with a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. Well, one of the things that attracted me to what you do is that you're not taking a knee-jerk reaction. You're setting up the things and finding out what. So what I've seen from you is that you're accepting that a thing is happening. Something is happening.
Right.
Now let's figure out what it is.
Exactly.
You know? There's one side that'd be like, oh, it's a ghost. I don't know, no other way. Okay, it has, and then the other side is like, you know what I mean? Like there's two different sides to that.
Right. So yeah, people have experiences. That's the main thing that I talk about and that I include in my lectures. That people have some kind of experience. They saw something, they heard something, and they don't know what it is. Is it something considered paranormal or is it normal? I don't know until I get there. I want to know what they saw from them. I want to interview them. I want to see what's going on. I want to see where it took place and figure it out. I'm looking for the truth. No matter what that truth is, that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
So I agree that in most cases, not all, but most cases, the person had an experience. Now, in some cases, they didn't have an experience and they're making shit up just for attention, you know, or money, you know, or to get on TMZ again for like the 1,000th time, Zach Baggins. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I get it. But yeah, I'm always interested. Even, I mean, I get criticized from both sides when I take gadgets apart, when like you have all these ghost hunting gadgets and I take them apart. And a lot of the believing side, they're like, why are you doing this? You're going to ruin it. You're not, you know, why do you have to take this apart? Take this away from me.
I got to say this. So I hope everyone understands that it's like, we're not trying to rain on anyone's parade. You know, we're not trying to like we're not trying to tell you that these things aren't. We're trying to save your life. We're trying to figure out what's really going on because we want to. Man, that'd be so great, because I have had experiences that even with everything I know now that I still cannot explain. I've had those, and I don't know what they are, but me not knowing what they are doesn't mean that it's something supernatural,
right,
mystic, right? And so it's just always looking to find that out,
And that's good. And this is why I enjoy your videos, because you are not taking. You're not the. I know I keep saying this, and I don't want to insult you, but you're not that typical ghost hunter that I know.
Yes.
Like you are someone that wants. We kind of really share similar views and viewpoints because
I think so.
We want to see something. I want to see shit. I want to see some good shit. But the stuff that's out there that's presented does have explanations for the most part.
Kenny, in my 20s, I was self-medicating. I saw some good shit.
I continue to self-medicate. And I still haven't seen anything, damn it. But no, I mean, you've talked about a few things, and I want to get back to your videos because that's why I had you on. Like, some of the topics and the way you present. So I want to say that before I get ahead of myself, the way you present, I love it. It's straightforward. You're doing exactly what you do now. You sit there, you got the 3/4 turn kind of thing going on. You're staring at it. You are dapper motherfucker. Let me say that. You're very dapper the way you dress, and you address in a tone that keeps me interested. It's not all over. Like for me, I'm all over the place. I'm very active. I'm very energetic.
I like that. I wish I had more energy sometimes.
I think you have a more hypnotizing kind of approach.
What really bothers me about YouTube videos is those presenters. This is totally off topic. Those presenters who think that they have to be all coked up and yelling at you.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where that came from, but like your audience is hard of hearing and you've had too much caffeine. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying.
So you've covered a bunch of things. You've covered, and I'm looking through your channel now, Amityville. You've done Ouija boards. You've talked about EVP.
Yeah, what is it? The ideomotor effect?
Idiomotor. Well, idiomotor effect is how I pronounce it. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the idiomotor effect is. I mean, I've seen it a bunch of times. I've seen people use it, and the analogy that I use when I'm talking about this is like if you're driving a car, anyone that drives a car, you're driving along the highway, you're not consciously thinking about the corrective actions that you take. You're constantly doing micro corrections on the steering wheel, and with your foot because you're adjusting the gas. I have to go on the brake. You're not actively thinking about that the entire time. You're just doing it because you need to do that. That's it. So when it comes to like a talking board, people have their hands on it. If they're aware of everything that's going on, like I've never had a Ouija board actually work for me. I've tried it several times. I've had people come over and we've done testing. It never moves. But when I see the people that are using
for you, it's never worked for you, but has it worked for others?
So when I participate, it has never worked.
Yeah. And that's the same, right? Because we know, and so we're more conscious of our body movements, and so that's exactly why. Yeah.
Right.
And you've heard about those tests where they do with the stack of pennies, you take the planchette and you put a stack of pennies on it and you put your fingers on the pennies. If a spirit is moving the Ouija board, what's going to happen to the pennies? They're going to go back this way, right?
So I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And I made one. I made a planchette, my own design. It's not my own design. Let me correct that. I stole it from Faraday. I took it from Faraday because he did an experiment with table tipping, and actually put another top on a table and separated the table on the top with ball bearings for the same effect. If people tried to move the top of the table would move independent from the table itself. So I have a planchette out in the hallway that is separated at top and bottom, and there's ball bearings in
Oh
grooves.
yes, exact same
Yeah,
thing. Man.
same thing.
Yeah.
So if you try to move the planchette, the top will move independent from the bottom. Uh, so yeah, I get that. I love that. I take that with me when I go to conventions and put it out. And it's funny because even at paranormal conventions, like there's still a good chunk of people that won't touch it
Oh,
because they're afraid.
that entire thing comes solely from The Exorcist. That entire
Amen.
the entire that Ouija boards, spirit boards, used to be a dating tool during the Victorian era. You and your honey with a candle, knee to knee in the dark with a Ouija board. It was just a game, and everyone knew it. There's some events where people try to say, you know, I killed my mother because, you know, blah, but the gigantic panic from that was entirely spawned by The Exorcist. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you go back and look at the ads, the advertisements, the early advertisements, I mean, it was advertising it as a game. And it was, again, it was a dating tool because you got to get there with your girlfriend or boyfriend,
In the
and you
dark
got
with
to
a
touch
can-
knees because the board was supposed to go on your knees, not on a table, but
Right.
on your knees.
Yeah.
And that way you could actually touch and interact, which was a no-no back then.
Yeah.
I have a picture. A friend of mine, JD Sword, who also is a writer for Skeptical Inquirer. He sent me it's a Ouija board tray that was like, you know, a dinner tray kind of thing. And I have a picture of it, an advertisement of kids just around it, playing on it, and all happy and everything like that. And you're right. When it came to The Exorcist, when that came out, and I think it was on screen for all of like a minute and 6 seconds, a minute and 6 seconds. And
that's what spawned it.
That changed the entire attitude.
The satanic, the moral panic, the satanic panic was a byproduct of it really kind of maybe, I don't know if it specifically started with The Exorcist, but The Exorcist was certainly the biggest event, right? I mean, you had some other stuff around it, right? But then you have The Exorcist, and then you end up having the Amityville Story, and then you have the only reason. Okay, does anyone understand how many murders take place in America on even just a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Familicide? I think it's called familicide. It's when you kill your family.
I didn't know there was a term for it.
There's actually a term for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, right? But that's not an uncommon event. It happens. It's unfortunately it happens. People snap and kill their families and stuff, right? The only reason we know about that one is because of the Warrens and all those people making up stories. That's it. That's the only. And when I tell people like, hey, you realize that all those people were living on the same floor. The only one that wasn't, Don is the only one that wasn't on the same floor. If I'm drifting, right? But if Ron, all he had to do was kill his dad. It's like kill his dad, like you go after the biggest threat first, right? Kill the dad, kill the mom, and then literally just walk 10 feet across the hall, and then the sisters. And the only one that is Dawn. How do you do that? But it doesn't matter, you know. They're all dead. But people think it was like some big. And then another thing too is you hear this. Oh man, this always gets me. How did he do it without any of the neighbors hearing it? How did he do it without any? So people confuse the neighbors didn't hear anything with the neighbors said they didn't hear anything. They confused those two statements. The neighbors thought it was a mob hit. If you thought the family next door to you was all massacred by the mob,
right? Yeah, I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry,
but it's right.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I totally heard it. No. I think I don't even know why people still argue about that one. Of course, people said they didn't hear anything. I mean, maybe they really didn't, right? But I think it's more likely that people were like, "Oh yeah, it's a mob hit. We're not saying shit." You know,
it's about context. You know, like you have to go back to the original source, the primary source, and listen to what they say, because the terminology that they use can be a clue as to what they may or may not know.
Yeah.
Hey, Susan, we're talking about the Amityville horror, or the murders, actually. So yeah, the context of it can be a clue about what's going on, what their mentality is, what their behavior is. So you have to pay attention to that. And that's something that I really try to do when I interview people is pay attention to how they respond, what words they use, how they describe something. I never try to lead the witness. I never try to offer my own descriptive words because, a term may mean different things to me than it does to them. So I want them to give me their description and then elaborate. Like if I have a question, tell me more detail about this. So I get it. Wow, this is fun. I like talking to you with this. This is really good conversation.
I really appreciate
so you
it.
do when you do videos, like I've noticed you really, not only do you do a deep dive, but you support what you say. You've done the research. You don't actually just say, I just think it all bullshit. You explain why, which is why I like your videos, because you're not doing.
I don't think my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't. Because we all have opinions about things. Why do you need? There's something I thought of, earlier today. Something I wanted to say to you is this is very important to me. When I debate someone, I never debate them to change their mind, ever. I debate them to change mine. If you and I were to have different views about something, right? And you were passionate about it. I'm just using it as an example.
Right.
And you were passionate about it. The only reason I would debate you for it is because I want to hear what it is that's the underlying reasons for your passion. And I want to see if there are things that I haven't thought of, if there are connections that I haven't drawn. And in a lot of cases, I'll be disappointed and find that, their beliefs are just based on emotions, right? But there have been some times when I've been like, oh, I did not know that. And so the thing is if we think about how difficult it is to change our own mind about something, right? It's literally uncomfortable because, the serotonin, it's literally uncomfortable for it. So I debate people because I want to be smarter. I want to be less of an idiot. And so I just want to hear what the passion is behind them. What is it based on, so that I can check my views and maybe I can change, something.
Right.
It's just a growing process anyway. So
I agree. I mean, that's how you learn why people believe what they believe. And when I engage in conversation or debate, I mean, most of the time it straddles the line because we're talking about it. I'm asking questions and I want to know, and I might offer something that I know and then say, hey, how do you know that? That's one of my favorite questions. How do you know that? And please explain it to me. Help me understand better. So you're trying to get in their heads, basically. And that's a weird way to say it, but that's what you're doing. Because
is it like an empathy thing? Are you talking is it an empathy thing for you? Like you're trying to...
I want to know where they're coming from.
Your perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not empathy because I think that's more of like if someone's feeling a certain emotion, I can relate to them and try to comfort them. But when it's a debate about a belief or a lack of belief, depending on what you're debating about, I want to know why, or I want to know where they're coming from. How do they arrive at that belief, and why is it so important to them? Why are they sticking to it? And I try to do so in a very polite and professional manner, because I don't want to piss them off. Well, let me take that back. There are some people I don't mind pissing off.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't want to... wagons. I don't want to get them angry. I want to talk. I want to have a conversation and understand.
Does anyone like it when someone lies to you? When someone lies to you, they're lying to you because they think you're an idiot. The reason they think you're an idiot is because they think that you're too stupid to realize they're lying to you. All right. So if we don't enjoy someone else lying to us, then what I ask myself every day is, then why do I lie to myself? And what I mean by that is that our brains are literally set up to lie to us. We confirmation bias. we don't want to be uncomfortable. We want, that has to be. People turn the polarization thing, for example, is because we turn to outlets and sources that support our pre-existing opinions. Our brains, we form our opinions generally, right? We form our opinions before we ever look at the evidence. And then we embrace the evidence which supports our pre-existing opinion, and then we reject all of that which conflicts with it. And I think I just very strongly feel like school children from 7th grade on every single year need to be taught about confirmation bias. I really think the world would be a better place if we understood that a lot of what we believe is bullshit, and that we would try to work through that. I mean, I'm not saying it would work, but in my special version of reality, it would be nice, you know.
I think I would add on to when people lie to you. I think there's also a defense mechanism.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
not always about they think you're stupid and yet
I get that too.
It's more like a defense mechanism because maybe they realize they are losing the fight, or maybe that's a wrong way to say it. There might be a realization that, oh shit, like this thing that I believed. Now that I'm having this discussion, now it doesn't seem so real. It doesn't seem so logical or like factual. And now I'm starting to doubt it. And there's that panic because now you have that cognitive dissonance that's setting in, and you're fighting with yourself. And sometimes this fabrication, this lying comes into play because now it's like, well, like if it's a photograph, for an example, just a hypothetical situation here, they have a photograph they believe is a ghost. Somebody comes along, like me, and says, I'm looking at this, I see the details, and I can point out this and this and this and this, and I can give you a whole explanation of what this is. A knee-jerk reaction, not because they think they can lie and get away with it, or it's more of a knee-jerk reaction.
No, you need to defend your beliefs.
Right. They're going to say something like, well, I had like 3 or 4 photographers look at this, and they all said the same thing, that it was real.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
I get that. All the time I hear that. Until you start saying, what photographers? Can you give me a name?
How I've done a couple of videos recently about truth, right? About like Dietrich Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity and the different issues. I'm working on a video about lies, about lying, and it is. I didn't mean to make it sound like such a narrow. It is a very complex issue. I believe that we, as a species, wouldn't have survived if we didn't have the ability to lie. Lying is part of why we're still alive, because there are people that you have to lie to or they will kill you. Do you believe? I think it's a George Carlin joke. Like, do you believe in God? No. Next guy.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God? Yes. Oh, which God? A different boom.
Right.
So
right.
So there's all these different, and then is it okay to lie to a corporation? Is it okay to lie? There's all these different things. But I'm saying that, like, when a person, for no reason, based on fear, when they're just trying to manipulate, those kind of liars.
Yeah.
It's the Steve Huff. It's the Zach Baggins. Those people are lying because they think that their audiences are idiots. Politicians do it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm 100% with you. Yep. I mean, that's trying to exploit your audience by just lying to them and expecting everyone to just believe you because you are you, and that's basically it.
Nietzsche would hate me because I'm a fan of his, and Nietzsche very specifically did not want fans. But he said that, like, the reason he didn't want fans is because all fans are lesser versions of you, and so. Yeah. Anyway, but
yeah. I mean, I just like having friends.
Yeah, that's
all
cool
I
too.
want. Just friends that will not only agree with me when they really agree, but when they don't agree with me, they will speak up.
That's what a real friend will call you on your bullshit. And what I was saying earlier, like, we don't always know our bullshit. Sometimes we can get, I have to be around strong people, that will do that. And I have thick skin, my God, I'm a grown man wearing eyeliner. Do you think I'm not, I'm not, I don't have thick skin. Sure. Yeah. So that's what I need. I respect people who will call me on my bullshit or help me look at things a different way. That's what I want. Yeah.
What do you, we have about 5 minutes before we go to our break. Cool. And then after the break, we're going to come back and do viewer questions. So if everyone watching, I know there's a bunch of people watching. If you have questions for Aten, put them in the chat room, put a Q in front of it. And we'll get to them after the break. But real quick, before we do go to the break, what is your opinion of EVP?
Wow, I don't know about 5 minutes, but you know the story about Nikola Tesla. He was playing around with the crystal radio, and he heard these sounds. You can imagine what it must have been like for him. He'd never heard anything like this. It was, and he contemplated. He, for a moment, thought, I wonder. Based on what their understanding of science was at the time, spiritualism was taking off too, right? He pondered the possibility that these might be spiritual voices, right? He ultimately came to the realization that no, this is just feedback and shit, Right. But Thomas Edison, however, was a spiritualist, and he, in fact, did not accept that. He believed that these were, and his understanding of science at the time, right, was that, we're energy and you can use energy to contact. So, he spent the last years of his life trying to create that phone that would talk to dead people. You know about that story?
So I know about that story. I have a different opinion of that.
Sure. What is that?
So, because I have spoken, well, not only did I read the articles because he had 2 articles where he mentions creating a device.
Thomas Edison?
Edison, yeah. There's 2 articles that he was interviewed. And the first one, actually on the second one, he kind of hints that he was having fun with the first author by talking about having this device.
Was he messing with him?
He was messing.
I didn't know. Yeah. I did not know that.
If I find them, because I did go back and I actually found the original articles and read through them, and it's very fascinating. I mean, his idea of what constitutes like not a spirit, but he thought we were all made up of hundreds of units. And it's very.
It's just energy. He thought it was just energy, though, right? Is that mine?
No. These are tiny, small, little, tiny units that were almost like microscopic figures.
What did George Lucas call it in Phantom Menace?
Metachlorians.
Yeah.
Basically, along the same lines. He came up with an idea on the spot. He was messing with the author, and in the second one, the author of the second article actually makes mention of this, that he decided to have some fun with the first guy, and we're going to give you the
that's interesting. It's become part of our sort of mythology in the paranormal field about this thing, right? But to answer your question really quickly is the vast majority of EVPs are a combination of pareidolia, audible pareidolia, and confirmation bias.
I agree. I don't know what I see. I, in my experience, and I'm only going to narrow it down to the ones I've listened to that I've been aware of, that covers all of them. And it also extends out to just radio broadcasts. People.
I talk about that, like a radio wave bouncing off a satellite or a CB transmission, something like that. I have one EVP that I think is interesting, but I can't, you can't get away from the audible pareidolia issue, Right. And like I always explain to people, like if I'm going to go on an investigation, and I take a true believer and a non-believer, which one of them is more likely to detect ghosts on the investigation?
The believer. Yeah. All right. So I am going to put my banner up. We're going to take our break. So we have a 4 minute and 11 seconds.
What was my YouTube address again?
Your YouTube address is at Haunted History Seattle.
That's right.
Sorry,
I didn't do a plug.
You don't know your own YouTube channel?
No, I just wanted you to say it.
I walked into that one. All right, don't worry. I'll put it in the chat room as well in the next hour. So yeah, we're gonna take our break. Everyone that's watching, if you have questions for Aten, please put them in the chat room. Put a Q in front of it so that Tim, who is in the background, he can mark them and save them for later. We'll get to them. And then when we're done our break, we'll come back. We'll continue the conversation, answer your questions, and have some more fun. So you have 4 minutes and 11 seconds from now. got back before the guest got back. So it's just you and me, everyone. He might be peeing. Oh, wait, I think I heard him. It's all good. It's all good. No, he's rushing. Like, oh shit, I gotta get back.
Okay.
There we are. Oh, almost. I hear him.
Yeah, so I had ghosts.
There he is.
I had ghosts in my bathroom.
Gotta expel those demons.
Yeah. Be gone.
All good. All good. It's all good. Oh, all right. Good to be back. We do have some questions. So if Tim, the magic Tim, can hear me. Oh, look at that. I didn't even say anything. That's awesome. All right. So question. Guest, does your name mean something in Egyptian history?
Aten was the very first monotheistic deity in recorded history, 400 years before the Hebrews conceived of Yahweh. It was Akhenaten. He so it's a long. How much do you want to know?
Like I'm already surprised and impressed. Like continue.
So the only reason anyone knows who King Tut is because the Egyptians hated him. When King Tut died, they tried to erase his name off of everything. And so grave robbers didn't know where he was buried because they had tried to erase him from history. So what had happened was Akhenaten tried to turn Egypt into a peaceful country. He said that Aten was the one true God. And by the way, I'm an atheist, so the name Aten, so there's irony intended in this, okay?
Okay.
But he said that all of the gods were representations or avatars or images of the one true God, Aten. And it was a sun god, right? And so he tried to disband the military and he tried to tear down the priesthood. So Kenny, let me just ask you, what are two groups that you do not mess with? Might it be the priesthood and the military? So
okay.
So Akhenaten very obviously was assassinated, and Nefertiti was his wife. And then they put a 10-year-old boy into power. That 10-year-old boy then not only just brought back the military and brought back all the priesthoods, but he also invented like 800 new gods. So the reason there was a 10-year-old boy ruling Egypt is because he was just a puppet Tut. He was just and then they killed the other guy because he was trying to mess with the, but Aten is just, comes from that.
Okay. That was pretty good. I was not expecting that kind of answer. That was really good. I like that there's some history to it. ZZ. Do you think the majority of believers had experiences when they were children? Interesting. I'll go first on this. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I've heard people tell me stories about like recent things, like they never really believed in ghosts until a recent experience that they had. And unfortunately, most of those people sought out like ghost hunting teams or psychics or something like that, which encouraged that kind of belief. And it infused and reinforced that belief in them. So it became solid. It became something that they just carried along, and it became normal to them. So I have come across plenty of people that have said they had experiences when they were little or they grew up in a haunted house. Honestly, like that phrase, I've heard so many times, and I almost don't believe it sometimes. You hear people say, "Oh, I grew up in a haunted house." And growing up, I've never heard this. But it was only since like my late 20s, early 30s, where I started hearing this from people. And it sounded almost like a thing to do. It was a thing to say because you wanted to include. I'm not saying everyone was lying, but I kind of am. You know, like it just kind of sounded like that. It to me at least. So that's my answer. What do you think?
I just so I recently started a gaming YouTube channel, right? Because I love paranormal investigation, but I hate the paranormal community, and I hate it because there's so much fraud, and it just drives me angry. So I just did a video on my gaming channel about witches, and I'm gonna read. I'm working on one about succubus too, and I'm gonna redo them without the gaming stuff for my haunted channel, right?
Okay.
But the point I'm getting to is that. Ancient people needed to assign a reason for their good or bad luck. Things that happened, they needed to assign something to it. Because if you can assign a cause, then you can affect that cause. And if you can affect that cause, then you can have some control over it. And maybe so that's why we invented a lot of these stories, right? That's why magic and that entire thing, right? And by the way, I do believe in magic, by the way, in the sense that your perception of your reality can affect your reality. If you wake up in a bad mood and you carry that bad mood out of bed into the day, you are more likely to have a bad day. But if you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to have a good day, I cannot promise you're going to have a good day. There are a line of people waiting to mess your day up, right? But you are more likely to have a good day if you make that choice, okay? So what I'm getting to is that are they believers when they're children? At some point in someone's life, something happens that they can't explain. And it's easier, I don't know, just to go to that mystical place, you know? So it's across the board, you know?
I get it. Like it is easier to go to that mystical place because it's I mean, we see that all the time. And I think we touched on it in the beginning. You know, it's very once you say my house is haunted or that place is haunted, it's so much easier for people to just accept that. And now the burden of proof is forced on the people to prove it's not haunted rather than prove it is haunted. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I was thinking about this earlier. Check this out. I was thinking about this earlier. So hey, Kenny.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I turned invisible and I flew. I did. I turned invisible and I flew.
Okay.
Okay. So now people are going to argue about what clothes I was wearing, how much weight I put on the last couple months because I did. I hurt my foot and I gained like 20 pounds. I'm sick anyway. And what the wind was. Why are we arguing about the wind and my clothing? People can't turn invisible and fly, and that's the same thing that happens with a lot of these haunted houses. Is that why are you arguing? Can Jello come out of walls? What? Why are we even debating this? Right?
Oh, that's a good one. That's an Amityville reference, right?
Yeah. You know what I said in
Right.
in my Amityville video. I said, look, the stuff that the Lutz has experienced, okay, and I broke it down to there's all of these things over here like fraud, right? And it's the money thing. So I break it all down, but there is a third choice that I've never heard. I mean, that no one's ever brought up, and I brought it up in my video. Is that it is entirely possible that Ron DeFeo Jr. rubbed acid, LSD, over all of the doorknobs, and the Lutz family had a doorknob-licking fetish. Like, that is totally possible. It's not probable, but it's possible, right? So maybe that could explain. So maybe they really did have those experiences, right? But probably not. They probably just made stuff up. And as far as the children, this is very important. As far as the children saying now that they had these experiences, just go back to what we said about sleep paralysis. You know, they had very stressful lives. We know that George Lutz was an angry guy, right? They went through a divorce. Those children, I'm not calling them liars because I think they really experienced something, and what I think they experienced is sleep paralysis. And if someone doesn't understand that, then yeah, it's demons, you know?
Right. Cool. All right. Oh, Jade Kitten. If the boy was 10, how much research have we put into finding the god if farts? I'm not sure. Don't even try to tell me he didn't exist to a 10-year-old boy. I'm not sure what we're talking about here.
So I think he's talking about King Tut, right?
King Tut. Okay.
I'm not sure about the farts. So King Tut did exist. That's a fact. What I was saying is that the ancient Egyptians hated him. He was an embarrassment, and they tried to erase him from history. And that's the only reason that his tomb was not, robbed earlier. And what I love about that, though, is that the pharaoh that we know the most about, the one that gave us our best look at all of the treasures, is the one that they tried to erase from history. I think that's a beautiful kind of ending that story. But yeah, he was just a puppet. He was a 10-year-old kid. He was controlled by the military and the priesthood.
Okay. All right, moving on. John Kennedy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you back. Haven't seen you for a little bit. Since Donna isn't here, are we getting 3 hours tonight? No. People love when they watch this show and they get into it, and I think this usually comes up when we have an interesting guest. So you should take that as a compliment, because I think they like you and they like what you've been saying, and they want you to go for a 3-hour show. But no, John Kennedy, we will not be going to a 3-hour show. I have to get up early tomorrow morning and go to an event. I have to drive for 2 hours to go to an event tomorrow. So
hey, hold on, wait. Tell them your shame. Tell them your shame. You know what? My ghost tour is in Seattle, and this young man is coming to Seattle. So
all right, I'm going to explain this because I need to exonerate myself from this. Monday morning, I am me and Eric behind the wall. We are flying out to Seattle because we're going to meet the Seattle skeptics and science enthusiasts out there. I'm going to do a talk about investigating mysteries and strategies for it. And we plan this. We're also going to Portland. We're doing all this. And part of the lecture series is to have a social event the next night, so that we can all go out, and after we talk about strategies and examples and stuff like that, we're going to do a ghost tour so that we can listen to the stories, listen to the histories, and then gather together at a pub and just say, all right, let's break it down. Like, what did we hear? What made sense? What didn't make sense? This and that. And we asked the people that were local there, the groups that are local, give us recommendations, and we picked out a ghost tour. I had no idea that you owned a ghost tour in Seattle until this morning, because you sent me a message this morning, and I looked at something and I was like, oh, let me look at this. And I don't know if it was, I think because it was a video. I think you sent me a link to a video, yeah. And I went onto the YouTube channel, and I finally was like, you know what? I don't have a guest tonight. This might be interesting to talk to him. And I went on your about section, and it said the the official YouTube channel for Seattle's best ghost tour. And I was like, oh, shit.
No. You listen, karma. Sorry. You know how I make fun of people about that. No, you without saying their name, you picked a franchise tour that popped up here 2 years ago, and the reason they picked them is because those people sink a bunch of money into Google ads. That's why, okay. Right? Like, we were always, before the pandemic, we were booked full 5 nights a week, tons of people, Then the pandemic hit, and then we never really totally recovered from that. But then these 2 franchise tours popped up into town, and they just sink a ton of money into Google, Google ads and stuff like that. But I mentioned to you earlier, that whole thing is an extortion scheme. So I prefer word of mouth and stuff like that. But next time you come into town,
hopefully, if you can, I don't know, no pressure. if you can make it out to the actual lecture, that would be awesome.
So I don't know when. So Monday. I'm going to my parents for Monday. My dad's birthday is the 12th.
It's on where am I? So it's the 15th on Tuesday is the talk.
So I might be back in town for that. I'm not sure. Okay. It depends. I'm spending the night at them on their house over Monday night.
And we are going to have some time to explore. I think on Wednesday we're going to have some time to explore
I don't know how you guys. I just don't know how you guys go on ghost tours without being angry. I mean, just the
You know
entire
what?
time.
There's a process.
Yeah.
There is a process where you go through like an adjustment, because I used to do that. I used to go on ghost tours, loved them because I was a ghost hunter and I sucked everything in. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Then I went all on the skeptical side, and when I listened to them, I was like, the paranormal stuff, the ghost stuff is bullshit. I'm going to check the history and make sure it's right. And then I'd go off on that. And then I decided, like that wasn't working either. Now I'm going to do, let me just listen to the story.
You know what? You know what Kenny just did is he just told me something that's very important, and I hope everyone caught this. See, when I encounter a quote unquote paranormal investigator that's been in the business for a long time, right? And they still are like crazy, right? My feeling is that either they are full of shit or they're really bad at their job, because you cannot be in the field for a long period of time and not have that sort of like, oh my God, wow, well, most of this is all made up, you can't,
Right. Well, so. I don't know. I mean, I did it for years as a ghost hunter. Then I
didn't know that about you. That's really interesting.
It made my transition. Now I'm on the skeptical side, but the more I learn, the more I realize, like, I am aware of what's going on. I know how a lot of these anomalies are created or captured. I understand it better, and I keep learning. And I think that's the point. Like, I keep learning and I keep discovering.
You mentioned ghost hunting devices earlier, right? Yeah. Every single ghost hunting device, maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this, but every single ghost hunting device is an object or device that has a real world purpose that can come up with random results. And so someone somewhere said, oh, those random results can be used to justify our belief in ghosts, And so then they're used for that, like EMF meters, or the worst one is that the Xbox thing.
Oh, the Kinect. Yes.
How are they doing that with a straight face? I don't even understand.
It's so bad. It is so bad.
It is.
I think there's a lack of knowledge. That's the start of it. There's
but so listen, the audience, yeah, I get that, but the people doing it know, right? There's no way they're that dumb. They know. Listen, the Kinect is a device that's designed to sit on a table, a stationary table, and detect body movement. The only thing it's programmed to do is detect body movement, and then it translates that body movement into a controller for a video game. So any movement it sees at all, it thinks that it is stationary and that the body movement is a person standing in front of it moving, and it translates that to help you control a video game. Okay, that's what it's designed for, right? Right?
Yes.
And then what they do is they carry it around.
So stick it on a handle. Yep.
It doesn't know that it's not sitting there stationary, and it doesn't know that the movement that it's being picked up isn't a person. And so then it translates it like it does exactly what it's designed to do.
Yes.
Detect movement.
Exactly.
And then they see, it's a ghost. It's a
calm down. I get it. Yeah. You're right. Because the code that is being used is specifically just it's the base code that was released. Microsoft released it. It's open source, so you can use it. And there are legitimate companies that have used it for like mapping out caves, archaeological research. But the code is adjusted for that, so it can go through and 3D map an area as it moves around, because it's mounted on like an RC car. However, what's being used from the factory is just the base code.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you said. It's the game. It is used as a game controller. And when you buy that, especially if you buy it from a ghost hunting gadget company, even if they repackage or have a new wrap in the software, it's still like there's one, the people that make the Ovilus, he put it out and said, oh, the Kinect, here it is, and it looks like their own software, but it's not. All he did was put a frame around it, like what you see on this live stream.
Yeah.
He put a frame around it, but it's the same exact software that you can download from Microsoft for free.
Yeah.
And which is another item that I always wondered about, because it is open source from Microsoft, which is free, yet these ghost hunting gadget people are selling it.
You've done the REM pod, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you've done that.
Yeah, I did that piece of shit too. I don't like that thing. All right, let's move on. Oh, Susan's got a question here. Opinion on mediumship, please.
Oh, me? No, you go first.
Oh, come on. Susan knows my opinion. I don't think psychics and or mediums can do what they say. I've never come across one that can actually do what they claim they can do. I think there's a lot of cold reading. I think there's a lot of hot reading. I think there's more cold reading than hot reading. And again, like, I have never come across someone that actually can perform and do the things that they claim to do when they're put to the test. So I don't have any belief in psychics or mediums, and so there you go.
So I don't want to say it's not possible, okay, but so a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and we got early tickets to go see the Dungeons & Dragons movie,
Okay.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed, by the way.
Yes. Yes. So
did you see it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
it was they did it. I expected it to just be horrible. The previews made it look like it was going to be just terrible, but I really
previous attempts were not that great.
No, so, I thought I was going to see another bad Marvel film. So anyway, we're sitting together in the theater, and he had his COVID mask on. He's got, I think he has immune issues, right? So he's got his COVID mask on, right? And we're sitting there, and I think he had a hat on too. And then a medium, a psychic, came in to do readings for the group, right? And I was starting to get heated up, just because I know what she's doing, And what was really great about it is when she was referring to my male friend as a she, right? And I'm like, first of all, really? So we didn't call her out and embarrass her, but I don't think that you can go down to Pioneer Square. I don't think you can go downtown and give someone $25 so they can turn their magic power on. If someone really had that magic power, they wouldn't be selling it for $25 a shot. They would be in a laboratory somewhere. The government would pick them up, put them in a laboratory, and be using them. If that was real like that, right? So a lot of mediums are just what you call mentalists, and whether they know they are a mentalist or not, I don't know. I can't say. Again, like we were talking about how we believe our own bullshit, right? So some of them really, truly, honestly believe their bullshit. They do, and then I've met someone who are smart enough to know that it's not true, and they just continue to go on it. So I think it's possible. I mean, it's possible that flying monkeys could come out of my rectum too. It's not probable. It's just not probable. That's all.
I think that's the first time rectum has been said on this show.
In a universe of infinite possibilities, anything's possible.
Here we go. Oh, many worlds theory. I like it. I had a thought and I just lost it. I
don't want to slam them. I think some are very and maybe cool, but it's just I don't like them taking advantage of people.
I agree. I totally agree. And on the note where you said that, like, some people just know they're scamming people. There's quite a few, I think, that know right up front that they are scamming people. Like Thomas John. But there's other people out there that I've come across, that I've met, and that I'm friends with, that truly believe they have some kind of superpower. And it's only when you sit down and they have a chance, like, we sit down, go ahead, do your reading, do your thing. What can you do? Like, for me, I always ask, what can you do? Explain to me exactly what you're doing. What superpower do you have, so I know if you're actually doing it or not. And when they explain it, and then we sit down, and sometimes they hold my hand, which is kind of all right, but they do their thing. It never pans out to what they said they could do. And it's not like I'm going, haha, I don't laugh at them. I don't, jump up and tell everyone this is a fake. This is a fake. No, we have a conversation, and I say, well, like, do you really think you can do this? Because you said this, you got it wrong. And it's not like a really mean confrontational kind of thing. It's more of a conversation between us. I'm not including anyone else, but I'm talking about it, saying, hey, maybe rethink it. Maybe it's not what people thought. And
hey, I got a really good example for you, actually. So my biological father, he was a very talented oil painter, and he went pretty crazy at the end. And I found out this is not an uncommon thing. When people paint with oil paints, the chemicals get into, and a lot of past artists do that. The oil gets in the chemistry, and then they end up going crazy, right? But he was known to be a psychic when I was younger, right? And that was, predictions of it. Okay, so ignore that, right? But just laying the foundation of this, okay? Okay, so right. I'm very difficult to have a relationship or friendship with if you're full of shit, because I have a secret magic power, Kenny, is that I can tell when people are lying to me. Now, this is either a psychic supernatural power, or this is my observation of it. My biological father was a pathological liar, okay? And my stepfather suffers from severe post-traumatic stress disorder and all of the symptoms, the anger and all that kind of stuff. So when you as a child are growing up in a situation like that, where one of your parents is just so full of it, and the other one is really angry all the time, you become extreme. Like, you literally, your brain develops in such a way as to be able to navigate that, right? Like, I think every paranormal investigator should have some kind of background in psychology, right? Do you agree?
I think that would be great. Yeah, that would be very beneficial, especially going into private homes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because knowing what's going on in the house. So, right. So what happened is that I ended up, my little young brain ended up developing skills that maybe not everyone else has, in that I had to navigate a very angry situation with someone who's legitimately suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. It's very severe for him, and a biological father who just, was full of crap all the time. And so what that did is that made me, I can see the signs really in ways that other people can't. Now, is that a magical power, or is it just easily explainable psychology?
Yeah. It comes down to experience. Yeah. You've experienced it so long, you're picking up the signs. Yeah, I don't think it's a superpower, and I know that's where you're getting. I know you were.
Yeah, no, I'm being facetious.
Yeah, right. I agree. Yeah. All right, good answer.
But at the same time, Kenny, though, if somebody doesn't figure that on their own, they might really believe that it's a magic power.
Right. I agree. And when you have friends and family that are constantly reinforcing that idea, because they're helping you, one of the big things that I call out during any kind of like psychic mediumship readings is how easily people nod their heads all the time. And the questions are asked, and people are sitting there doing this, or something like that, and you're giving indications, and it's helping them. So friends and family that you're used to talking to will do this automatically, not even think about it, and that reinforces that belief over and over again.
And they'll do the mental gymnastics necessary to make it true too.
Right.
Right. Oh, well, they didn't quite get that right, but
But yeah, we can connect the dots. Yeah. So yeah, awesome answer. Good. All right, Tim. What else you got? Kenny, what does your name mean? It means He who loves rum. That's what I'm gonna go. Doesn't mean shit. I don't know what it means. I was named after my father, so that was. I think it was just a default thing to do. Like, oh, I have a son.
Is your father still around?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, just
Kenny, do you have a good relationship with your father?
I mean, I don't.
Sorry, I was being. You don't have to answer that. Sorry. Telling me about your mother.
Let me lay down.
Yeah, exactly.
We got some issues to talk about. All right. I like that. Susan said it means son of Ken. That's right. Cat Ward, good to see you. Adam, Aten. Oh my God, I'm screwing that up. What are your thoughts on past parapsychological research? Is it still relevant?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we don't have all the answers. We don't know. Hey, did you know? Did you know that? So I totally believed that black holes were real in the 90s. I totally did. You know why? Because Carl Sagan told me they were real. Then when I found out that, oh, that's just a theory, right? It was just a theory. He wrote, but now we know they're real, right? Now we have.
I was wondering where you're going with this.
Yeah. No, they are real. But when I was presented with the information, I accepted it as fact because Carl Sagan told me it was fact. It turned out to be real, but at that point, it was still just a theory. So we don't have all the answers. Look at what the James Webb Telescope is doing, right? The James Webb, we are learning, holy cow, all this amazing stuff. I got little goosebumps from that one too. We are learning all this great stuff from that. So we should never stop looking for things. We should never, I don't think Kenny and I would ever say ghosts are not real and you shouldn't believe them. That's not no, you want to know what's going on, right? I mean, you may not believe ghosts at all.
I would edit that and just say, let's wait for better information before you commit to that belief.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Like, so everyone understands. Like, there's a true believer, then there's skeptic, then there's cynic. Okay. I think that it is detrimental to your development as a human being to be a true believer or a cynic. Okay. Because either way, you've already made up your mind. That's it. Right. Now, with that said, there are some things I'm a cynic about. Like, for example, I don't believe that committing suicide will cause my soul to go up into a spaceship chasing a comet. Right? Like, I'm a cynic about that. Like the Heaven's Gate cult. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
So there are some things that it's okay to be a cynic about. But generally speaking, we should always want to know more and continue following. There's so much more we have to learn, that science has to learn. Look to ours. This is what gets me. Kenny, didn't we have a Age of Reason at some point? Do you remember something about this in the history books? The Age of Reason, right?
Age of Enlightenment.
The Enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
What happened to that? Because I feel like
the internet.
I feel like we've just completely forgotten and we're starting over again.
The internet happened and our intelligence went down.
I am very disappointed in every science fiction book I ever read because they always talked about the information age, right? But what every one of them that I'm familiar with, every one of them missed is what the misinformation age. It was the information age, but the misinformation age. That's the part that I've never read about in those science fiction books. You know,
that's because they never saw it coming.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that
weird? It seems so obvious now, right?
Well, that's because we're living in it.
We are in the information age that we were reading about in science fiction books back in the 70s and 80s. We're in that, but we're experiencing another part of it that was never predicted in any of those books.
Yeah. None of the psychics saw this.
I'm like a Cupid doll. I just keep pulling the string.
That's all good. All right. What else? All right. Tim's on the ball, man. Daniel Reed, what's up, buddy? Do you like stories by M.R. James, Poe, Lovecraft? Follow up. If so, what is your favorite writer or story? I've read a little bit of Lovecraft. but I haven't read M.R. James and Poe. I've read a little bit. I visited his grave, both of them, because there's two in the cemetery, and there's a whole fun story about getting locked in the cemetery. I can tell you at a later time. Oh, don't choke, damn it! No dying during the show. What about you? Once you get that, are you okay?
Yeah, I went down the wrong pipe. Have you heard that happen? You know, ever since COVID struck, like I feel like I can't sneeze or cough in public. Do you have that?
No. I'm.
Everyone's gonna think I'm diseased. You know? So anyway, yeah, you know, Poe's great. You know, I my biological father used to take me to the classic monster movies, you know.
Okay.
And so I've always been a goth, you know. We were called bat cavers though. So I've always been into the spooky stuff, you know. Poe, the Black Cat, is a great, you know. Okay. Lovecraft is amazing.
I have a glow in the dark Cthulhu sitting up on my shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, the cosmic horror and how much he influenced. What I love about Lovecraft stories is only like, I don't remember the names, but there's only like 2 of them that don't end in absolute disaster. Like every one of them is just. Hey, Kenny, are you familiar with the Call of Cthulhu role playing game?
The which one?
The Call of Cthulhu role playing game.
No, I'm not.
It's a great game, but it's depressing to play because you know how it's going to end. Your character is going to go insane and die. That's just that's the outcome of every adventure. That's the goal for it, you know. But the Call of Cthulhu role playing is more popular in Japan than Dungeons and Dragons, and I think somehow there's something in there about I wonder why, right?
Right.
It's that despair.
Yeah, I love D&D. I played it for years and years, and I love playing it. I just don't get the time to do it anymore. So that's kind of sad.
This is how I started.
Oh,
you recognize this?
Wow. Is that the basic set?
It's the Holmes basic, yeah.
Wow. That's older than the one I had.
So you had probably the Tom Moldbay one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tom Moldbay.
Yeah.
So what happened is Holmes, when original D&D from 1974, this guy was a neurosurgeon, and he contacted Gary and said, "Hey, let me make a easier read version," and that's what that was. And then Moldbay did that one later, and then AD anyway.
Sidestep. All right, let's move on. We're actually getting down to the last 15 minutes, so we do have a bunch of questions. Let's get through them. ZZ, what do you guys think about attachments? I already know, just asking. Okay. And I'm assuming this is about attachments, like as in spirit attachments, where you go somewhere and something can attach to you or an object and then go along with you. I mean, it goes along with the basic idea of show me the money, you know, like show me the evidence. Where's the evidence for this? It's more, to me, it's more of a belief / folklore kind of idea that doesn't really seem to have any supporting data other than people's imagination. And that's about it for me. So what do you think?
I've had some events, but let me just narrow it down to one that I cannot explain. There's one that's happened. I'm worried about talking about this because it sounds like I'm saying yes, right? What I really believe is that if you think that you're having a haunting, that you should not be afraid and you should not be angry, because I believe that those emotions can generate. Remember those demons in your head? You know, I believe that those emotions can generate that result, right? So now you think you have an attachment or something, right? So I think it's
it becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, because once you get the idea in your head that your place might be haunted, or an object that you just brought home might be the cause of some weird things, you are naturally going to associate every weird thing that happens from then on with that experience.
So there is one event that I have had. It happened in 2017 that I cannot explain, and I'm going to sound like a crazy person. I'll make it as short as possible. We were we were investigating a shadow person haunting, right? And the people of the place didn't call it that, but we know, right? Shadow people are generally associated with sleep paralysis. These people were not sleeping. Obviously, they're working late at night, right? So this is very high. So when I'm dating someone, I do not tell them what we're investigating, because if I do that, guess what happens at my house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
Don't tell them that. Leaving the establishment, and a guy on the tour, he asked me two questions. He says, "Hey, Aten, have you ever had any experiences here?" And I said, "No, I had not. At that time, I had not." And then the second question is, "Have you ever had anything follow you home from here?" And I said, "No, I had not." Okay. So now that's why these next events don't make sense. I got home that night, and the woman I was dating, she wasn't a crazy person. She liked alcohol more than anyone should, but she wasn't, very compassionate. And she wasn't she wasn't like a true believer or anything, right?
Okay.
And out of nowhere, out of the blue, no discussion between us, she's freaking out, and she's talking about this shadowy figure that's following her around a house. And I thought, that's a very interesting coincidence, right? So I didn't say anything to her, because I don't, probably a coincidence. The next night it happened to her again. The next night it happened to her again. The next night, nothing. We never had a conversation. The next night, nothing. The following night, it's like the fifth night, right? We're laying in bed. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to go to bed, watching TV. I had to go pee. I got up to go pee. I'm walking through my hallway and bathrooms, and out of my peripheral vision, I saw someone sitting at my dining room table. And I looked, and it was there. And I swear to you, Kenny, it was as clear as I see you right now. It's as clear as I see you right now. There was an African-American man sitting in a chair at my dining room table. Okay. And, on the ghost hunting shows, they have two personality types. They have the true believer who's always like, freaking out, right? And they also have the non-believer who's angry about it. Okay. Neither of those assholes would ever be allowed on an actual investigation. Right? If you went to a doctor and said, "Hey, doctor, can you look at the skin thing?" and your doctor would be like, and ran out, you would never go back, right? So none of that's real, but that doesn't mean that I haven't had oh shit moments. And that was an oh shit moment. I really jumped out of my. So I was like, oh, okay. So the reason I'm telling you about this is because we ultimately discovered that in 1938, an African-American man named Barry Lawson had been murdered there. This is one of those things where I honestly, I did not know this beforehand. I did not read it. It's very hard to even find this information. So I don't know what that series of events is. I don't know. So stuff like that has allowed me to remain open to the possibilities, but I don't want to say yes. I don't want to say yes to that, because it could spawn more problems than it's worth, right? It's better. I feel like it's better psychologically to say no, but I've had things that even with what I know and the way I did. Okay, so I had to have read about that somewhere. There's some way I had to have known about it. Like there has to be. I'm looking for. I've never found one. Never saw him again. Never saw him again. But the fact that I found in this newspaper article about this man, Barry Lawson, so.
We can talk about that later. Maybe I can help dig into some information and see if we can come up with something.
Hey, I would love to know where he's buried. In 2020, I learned that he had come from Nebraska to support his wife and child.
Okay.
There was a big cover up here. They murdered him. The police had murdered him. They tried to. It was a big cover up. It's a very interesting thing, but you have to dig. You have to totally dig to find that. Anyway, sorry.
All right. Moving on. Next question. Cat Ward, can we please talk about the sheep-goat effect this time? Sheep-goat effect. I don't know what that is. Do you know what she's talking about?
No.
No. Cat, I'm sorry.
It must be Cat. It must be. Are you using code for something? Is it? I mean, no. Can you clarify? Maybe it's just
Yeah.
terminology that's popular in like
Right.
paranormal
I don't
communities
know.
that we're not aware of.
I'm not sure, but yeah, if you can clarify, we'll get back to that. All right. Next up, and the possibility of psychic projection onto gadgets and maybe a sort of subconscious wish fulfillment. Oh, Kat's really big into parapsychology. She's been really big into that. So I think a lot of these terms are going in that direction. Possibility of psychic projection onto gadgets. Again, it comes down to I would say that has to be shown. It really has to be shown before I'd consider talking about it. And wish fulfillment, that might be. I don't know if we're talking more about self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, where you want something to happen so bad you will bend your perspective to make it happen or make it seem like it happened. I'm not really sure. This is something I can't really speak on this too much because I'd have to look into this a little bit more. What do you say, Ann?
It's fun to imagine.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
it's fun. It's fun to imagine like this world where magic is real and I can, you know what? I miss my cats. I have a couple cats that have died that I miss them so much, and I would love to go to a nice, happy place where I can be with my cats again. But you know, it's just not possible.
Right. All right, moving on. We got just a few more, and we can wrap it up. Poe has 2 graves. Yeah, I could Google, but this is more fun from Jade Kitten. So I went down to, where did we go? Oh my goodness. The cemetery where he is buried, he has a grave up front. Oh my God, I'm having a total brain fart here about Baltimore. We're in Baltimore at the cemetery where he's supposed to be buried. There's one up front that is a fake one. It's not his actual burial place. That's actually in the back. You have to go in the cemetery, go around the church, around back, and that's where his grave is. But there's one up front because so many people were trying to get in and staying in late that they as I understand it, they put one up front as more of a monument so people could come in and at least see it when the gates were locked. Which happened because we were in there. My wife and I was in there. We were in there when we went to visit, and nobody came around to check if the cemetery was empty. And we came back around from looking at all the there's little mausoleums in the back. We came around, and the gates are closed and they're padlocked. And these are the gates that have the points on top. And it's like, oh shit! Like we had to climb up onto a shorter mausoleum to climb over the fence and get out, which was just, I mean, I jumped right over, not a problem, but my wife had a little bit of more trouble, which I found hilarious, but she didn't, so I was in trouble. But there you go. So that's the story with that. So what else we got? One more, 2 more, I think. What is your opinion on some possession experiences or people being affected by spirits? Fits could be explained by conversion disorder. So possession experiences, I think, is a touchy subject. That's something we've talked about it on 3TS, and I touched on it on this show a few times, where you really have to get into the medical field. You really have to have some professionals look at this.
You start getting into mental illness issues and seizures and things they didn't understand. Someone recently pointed out something on my channel about there's a doctor who believes that, and by the way, this is a man with a medical license who believes that some schizophrenics are not actually schizophrenic, but they're actually possessed by demons. And I feel like we shouldn't be going back 100, 200 years, right, you know, back to that BS, right?
Right.
And I don't know how somebody, so anyway.
Yeah, because a lot of this stuff, a lot of these experiences are not self-diagnosed, but they're diagnosed by the family, who have
Well,
a very
how about this? How about this,
Sure.
Kenny? Someone that you love more than anything in the world dies, right? And unable to cope with that, that part of you that's missing, that love that you have for that person, that you fill that with negativity and anger and maybe self-medication, stuff like that. And so are you then possessed? I mean, like, we know it's not like a demon, right? But it's kind of the same thing. Maybe we're using, you know what I mean? Like, if your personality changes, so I think in that sense, things can happen to people like that, where they shift and they change their personality, but it doesn't mean that a demon is coming to there. There's a logical explanation. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. People can have severe personality changes, for a variety of reasons.
Right.
It doesn't mean Lucifer.
It does not mean that another entity has taken residence. It doesn't mean that there's an outside source, but from my perspective, that outside source is something you described, like a loved one that suddenly passed away. And it's very difficult to get over that grieving process. That would have effects on your behavior. I mean, absolutely it would. I can't imagine living without certain people, and it would be difficult, and it would take time to get over that.
And if you didn't have the tools and support around you, then people can fill that with other things.
Right. And there's also the issue of other family members seeing, especially when it happens to younger people who are going through, say, like puberty, and they're going through changes and they're having emotional changes, and a family that could be deeply religious could view that as something other than biological changes. And I mean, unfortunately, I've seen those kind of videos. I've seen that happen, where kids are held down and exorcisms are performed by definitely people that were never trained or qualified to do so. It's horrible. I really don't want to get into it, because now I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's a long. I know. Yeah, it's the same.
Angry
same
about
thing.
it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Is there anything else, Tim? Well, we got one more. Adam, what are your thoughts on Pat Price's death, as explained by Russell Targ in The Third Eye Spies? You familiar with that?
I cried for 2 hours yesterday over Sinead O'Connor. Other than that, I don't got anything.
Okay. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I don't know the name.
That's all right. All right. With that, I think we're good. We're wrapped up. We are at the end of the show. I'm going to say thank you so much for coming on, for spending a couple hours with me on a Friday night, and everyone else that came out. Thank you, everyone that came out and hung out with us for a while. We had a lot of people show up, which is great.
Thank you so much for listening to me babble so much. Honestly, it's an honor to be here. Everyone, I just got to say this. I've been asked to do these several times by other people, and I've always turned them down. I was afraid, honestly. I was like, but it meant something to me to be on your show, because you were the first person I came up. And I'm not just trying to like stroke your ego, so get the fuck up. Bring it down. But
okay.
But it's I saw someone who knows what's going on and is using it for good. Kenny and I talked about this earlier. I don't know if I hope everyone understands that Kenny and I both have enough, and I'm not trying to like toot. I'm saying that we'll focus on you. I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself, but Kenny has the knowledge of how these things are faked, of what they generally are. And if Kenny were to use that for evil, he could have 6 million YouTube followers in a couple days and make a ton of money off of it, right? But that takes a really shitty person to do that. And they are out there. Those people are out there. And when I saw what you were coming from is someone who understands, and you're using it for good. So that's why I said yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you did, because it was a very good conversation. This is the first time we've actually gotten to talk like this and go back and forth. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed your insight and talking to you. It was it was a great conversation all around. So
thank you.
Awesome job. All right. So everyone else, I want to tell you.
Haunted History Seattle.
There you go. I was
what,
just going to say, like, all right, how can people get in touch with you? Go ahead.
So the our YouTube page is Haunted History Seattle, and there's going to be some like cartoon picture of me on there or something. You know what? The channel. This is interesting. The channel had kind of died, right? It had kind of died. I was like, okay, people aren't interested in facts, but lately, all of a sudden, I've been getting like a bunch of new subscribers. Like something happened recently. It's getting in people's recommendations. So
awesome! I just put the link in the chat room too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So go check it out. There's quite a few videos on there. They're good. I like them. I enjoy them. I love the information that you provide. So go check it out.
Well, all I want to do, Kenny, is just help people. That's all. I just want to help people.
And you know what?
Are suffering out there.
I think I find you to be sincere with that, because that's something that I hear a lot. I hear so many people, and they have good intentions, but I want to help people. I just want to help people, and sometimes they're not. That's not what they're doing. They're helping themselves, and they don't realize it, because they're not helping. They're actually making it worse for homeowners.
That's why I didn't want to answer that one question about the following spirits. Like, you got to be careful. I mean, it's a whole nother story. But I'll make this. But I had a traumatic brain injury that left me half paralyzed in a hospital bed, and I was never supposed to walk again. I was never supposed to work again, and I it took me a year and a half. Anyway, I came back from that, and a lot of people helped me on that journey, and that's just where I'm coming from. I'm grateful and I'm thankful, and I think gratitude is one of the greatest emotions we can ever have.
What's your gaming channel?
It's called We Love TTRPGs.
Okay, good.
We love TTRPGs. Because I got so disgusted with the paranormal community, I decided I'm really basically doing the same kind of videos, but I'm doing them for Dungeons & Dragons, So I'm talking about witches and succubuses and things like that, but I'm, explaining what they are, And you know what? The D&D community actually really, really embraces it a lot more than the paranormal community, which is a weird thing, right?
It is, but it's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
A guy just recently left a comment about my witches video, and he says, it was funny. He's like, wow, I learned more about this subject matter from this video than any lecture or television documentary, and it's for a game. So awesome. that was great. I love that.
Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to put the link in the chat room, just so I don't want to click on it now, because I know it's going to start playing the video, and I don't want it to blow out the audio. But I'll put it in the chat room as soon as we're done. Everyone else, listen up. I'm not going to be doing a show next week. I will be in Portland next week. I'm actually leaving Monday. I'll be in Seattle and Portland, Oregon. If you're out, I post it on Facebook, advertisements of where I'm going to be and the talks that we're going to do and times. So if you're in those areas, please come out and visit. Please come out, introduce yourself. Susan Gerbic is going to be with us. So you're going to hang out with me, Susan Gerbic, Eric Behind the Wall, who, if you watch this show, you know who he is. He's been on the show. We're going to come out, hang out. We're going to have some fun. So come on out and join us. Maybe we can make time, and hopefully I'd like to meet you in person.
I just want one final word.
Sure.
Word. What's the word? Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. BOOSHIT.
I'm going to say this too. This is a compliment. You can tell a joke during your videos with the straightest freaking face. Like, there's no smile. You don't crack a smile. You can sit there and do your 3/4 pose. You can talk and say, well, I believe that's bullshit, and just move on. And I'm sitting here going, that was funny. He's not even cracking a smile. That's awesome. So yes.
I want everyone to think about that. That is my entire contribution to the paranormal community. Is just the word boot. I can't believe no one ever thought of that before. Just Call out bullshit. Call it out. Look for what's true. Call out bullshit.
All right. So stick around. Don't drop out. Everyone else, have a great weekend. Have fun. Be safe. And remember, never stop learning. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. See ya. Oh, we're still on. It's not stopping.